Welcome back to the deep dive. We pull the threads, track the chronology, and really try to tell the full story of people whose careers just refuse to be simple.
Exactly.
And today, we are undertaking a deep dive into the, well, fascinating, definitely two-sided professional life of Jason Segel.
Yeah, for a whole generation, he is absolutely Marshall Erickson.
Yeah.
You know, the giant, lovable sweetheart from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, totally iconic role.
But, like, if you only know that version of him, you're missing so much of the picture.
Right.
We're going to trace his path from, being one of Judd Apatow's original freaks all the way to becoming an Emmy-nominated showrunner, a critically acclaimed dramatic lead. I mean, he played David Foster Wallace.
Which is just incredible casting when you think about it.
And a surprisingly successful young adult novelist, too. It's quite the range.
That's absolutely right. So our mission today is basically to pour over all the details of this, 25-plus year journey, starting way back in the late 90s, and pinpoint exactly how he kind of engineered his own creative independence. Because if you, the listener, are curious about the mechanics of moving from, like, massive defining mainstream success
like HIYM
into really serious critical acclaim, well, this deep dive kind of shows you the blueprint. It really proves that the surest way to beat typecasting is, well, to write your own way out.
It's definitely a study in leveraging vulnerability, maybe, into creative capital,
Yeah.
And to really understand the sophisticated creator he is now, we have to start right at the beginning, with a childhood that seems to have instilled this really profound sense of observation.
Okay, so Segel, born 1980, Santa Monica, California, grew up in Pacific Palisades, which is pretty affluent.
Right.
On the surface, that sounds like, a pretty standard Southern California actor origin story.
Kind of, yeah. But you dig just a little deeper, and his family, his educational background, it created this really complex identity.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, what seems genuinely foundational here is this idea of duality that really marked his upbringing.
Duality, how so?
So his father, Alvin Segel, he's a lawyer and Jewish. His mother, Gillian Jordan, she comes from this rich blend of, like, English, Scottish, Irish, and French heritage.
Okay.
And Segel, when he's interviewed, he often kind of jokes he was raised a little bit of everything. But he does confirm his Jewish upbringing, went to Hebrew school, had a bar mitzvah, all that.
But the sources we looked at suggest the real, the core conflict maybe wasn't inside his home. It was more external.
Yeah.
Driven by his schooling.
Exactly. He went to St. Matthew's Parish School, which is, a very exclusive, private Episcopal school.
Right.
While simultaneously attending Hebrew school at night.
Wow. Okay, that must have created a profound sociological challenge for a young kid.
Oh, absolutely. The sources really detail how the split environment fed into this intense sense of being an outsider. He wasn't fully integrated into either social structure. He apparently felt like the Jewish kid at the Christian school, watching the rituals and dynamics he wasn't totally part of.
And then the reverse at Hebrew school.
Yeah. And conversely, he felt like the kid with the Christian school background when he was at Hebrew school.
So what was the emotional result of constantly having to, compartmentalize like that?
Well, he's admitted this feeling of social alienation. It led him to adopt this kind of it's me versus the world survival mechanism. And this is key, I think, because that slightly alienated, highly sensitive, empathetic observer, that's exactly the kind of character he would later embody so well.
Right, you see it in Nick Anadopoulos.
Totally. Nick Anadopoulos, Marshall Erickson, even decades later, that anxious therapist Jimmy Laird in Shrinking. He basically learned to watch, which is, crucial training for both acting and writing.
Okay, but before he fully embraced that, sensitive writer persona, he was something completely different, like startlingly different.
Oh, yeah.
A genuine, serious athlete. Let's talk about this incredible juxtaposition of Dr. Dunk.
This is truly one of the most, unexpected nuggets in his whole biography. Jason Segel is tall, right? 6'4".
Very tall.
And that size was definitely leveraged during his high school years at Harvard Westlake School. And we're talking about a serious basketball program there.
Okay.
He was an active, pretty valuable member of the boys basketball team that won the CIF state championship title. Not just once, but twice, in 96 and 97.
You hear Harvard Westlake, CIF state champion. That implies real dedication, serious skill.
Oh, yeah.
But the nickname is what really makes this era kind of pop. He wasn't just riding the bench. He earned the nickname Dr. Dunk. because he actually won a high school slam dunk contest.
I know. Can you even picture, like, the Nick Andopoulos character?
No.
Or Marshall Erickson executing some championship-winning slam dunk? It's just a hilarious mental image.
It totally contradicts his whole acting vibe later on.
Completely. It speaks to this kind of hidden physical discipline and athleticism that maybe informs his presence, even if his characters are often, goofy or kind of clumsy.
And here's a fascinating little piece of trivia that really places him right in the middle of this high-level competition. He was the backup center to Jason Collins.
No way.
Yeah, who later went on to have a long, successful career in the NBA.
Wow. Okay, so he was playing with serious talent.
Definitely. This athletic history, it just grounds him in a world so far removed from the dramatic arts. It provides a surprising depth to his background, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But that athletic discipline, it pretty quickly gave way to artistic pursuits, which brings us right to the Apatow launchpad.
Right.
After high school, his first major role really defined that whole era of cult TV. Nick Andopoulos on the, beloved but very short-lived Freaks and Geeks. That was 99 to 2000.
He was the stoner freak with the drum set.
Uh-huh.
And it's so important to remember that Freaks and Geeks, even though it got canceled way too fast, it really established the core philosophy that seems to have fueled his entire career. A whole Apatow ethos.
Totally. That ethos built on improv, honesty, and just translating personal experience directly into the material.
And Segel seemed to buy into that, like, immediately.
Oh, completely. What sets him apart, maybe, from many of his co-stars in that series, even that early on, is that he didn't just wait for the script to tell him what Nick should do.
Right.
The sources confirm he actually personally composed a song for Nick Andopoulos to sing, to the lead female character, Lindsay.
Played by Linda Cardellini.
Played by Linda Cardellini, who he actually ended up dating later in real life.
Right, right. But that song, that's a foundational moment, isn't it, of creative ownership?
Absolutely. That song, it's just this small, touching, kind of awkward piece of music, but it was his first produced work as a writer within a major Hollywood production. It wasn't planned. He contributed it.
And that decision to actively create and contribute, that just became the signature move of his career, really.
It did. Even after Freaks and Geeks got the axe, he kept that crucial relationship with Judd Apatow going, appeared in recurring roles on Apatow's next series, Undeclared, got some early film experience and stuff like Can't Hardly Wait back in '98, SLC Punk.
Right. He was clearly just marinated in that Apatow philosophy. Vulnerability equals humor, and if you make the material yourself, that's gold. Okay, so this Apatow training, it totally set the stage for the role that would define him for, like, an entire decade.
Marshall Erickson.
Marshall Erickson on How I Met Your Mother.
The stability of that role is just, it's remarkable, really. He was the main character for 208 episodes, spanning 9 seasons from 2005 all the way to 2014. I mean, for an actor, getting a role that lasts nearly 10 years... that's like the brass ring of Hollywood success.
Huge financial stability, massive household recognition.
Totally. But professional stability often comes with that risk, right, of artistic stagnation.
Yeah, and it's important to look at the timeline here. The source material we have notes, he actually reached a point where he felt he needed to break free.
He absolutely did. By 2013, when his contract was running out, he had publicly stated his intention to move on. Yeah. He was clearly feeling the pull of, like, the characters and stories he wanted to write, rather than just playing the one he'd inherited, I guess.
So how did they keep him for that last season?
Well, it apparently took a pretty significant effort from the producers to convince him to come back and finish out the 9th and final season in 2014. Which kind of demonstrates both things, right? His enormous value to the show, but also his really powerful desire for creative evolution by that point.
And that push for creative evolution... it had actually started much earlier, like right in the middle of his HIM run.
Yeah.
After appearing in Knocked Up in 2007, his massive breakthrough moment really happened in 2008 with Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And this film wasn't just a hit. It felt like his declaration of independence.
Precisely. This is really the moment Segel transitions from being, like, Apatow's apprentice to his creative partner.
Right.
Apatow produced it, sure, but Segel wrote the screenplay and starred as Peter Bretter. He basically took everything he'd learned about writing from personal pain and put it directly onto the screen.
And this is where we get into some of the infamous deep dive anecdotes, because the personal translation here is just extraordinary.
Oh, yeah.
The sources confirm that the two most memorable, kind of painful plot points in the film were rooted in his actual life.
Okay, so the first one is that puppet musical about Dracula, right? Which his character Peter is desperately trying to stage.
Yes, the Dracula musical, hilarious.
And the second is that iconic scene involving full frontal male nudity right after a breakup.
Right. He leveraged his most vulnerable, maybe humiliating experiences and just turned them straight into comedy.
I mean, think about it. How many actors would willingly script a scene where they get dumped while totally naked just because it actually happened to them?
It's bravery. Or maybe, like you said, sheer desperation.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible act of creative honesty, whatever it is.
It's kind of the highest form of that Apatow-era comedy, isn't it? Segel confirmed in interviews, yeah, he was indeed broken up with while naked,
wow.
Which became the sort of emotional foundation for Peter Bretter's despair in the movie.
And the Dracula musical, was that just a funny bit?
Apparently not just invented for the screen. He later actually performed Dracula's Lament live on The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson.
No way.
Yeah, showing how committed he really was to the sincerity of that, creative outlet. This film just demonstrated that his unique blend of sensitivity and, well, vulgarity, combined with that willingness to write his own stuff, that was a massive market asset.
And that Dracula musical, weirdly enough, actually became the launchpad for a complete tonal shift in his career.
Yeah.
The Muppets connection.
It is truly one of the most fascinating career pivots I think we've ever seen.
How did that happen?
Well, the custom-made cloth creatures they used for the musical in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, they were provided by the Jim Henson Company.
Right.
And that experience working with them, it immediately emboldened Segel to do what seemed kind of impossible, pitch Disney on a full-blown Muppets revival movie.
Okay, but how did he possibly convince Disney, like the biggest family studio in the world, to hand over one of their most beloved IPs to the guy who had literally just exposed himself full frontal on screen? That seems like an impossible tonal shift to bridge.
It apparently required genuine passion and a lot of sincerity. Disney was, understandably, pretty hesitant because of the, recent FSM nudity.
Yeah, you'd think.
But Segel approached it with this almost religious devotion. His motivation was intensely personal. He said he was genuinely concerned that the younger generation was growing up without knowing the magic of the Muppets.
Because the last movie had been ages ago.
Exactly. The last theatrical release was Muppets from Space, way back in 1999.
So he basically sold them on nostalgia and, being a guardian of the brand, proving he wasn't trying to make some raunchy Muppet film, but a sincere, heartfelt tribute.
That seems to be it. He wrote it, he executive produced it, and he starred in the Muppets in 2011 as Gary.
And it was huge, right?
Huge critical and commercial success. A real triumph of passion over maybe prior reputation. It earned him a Critics' Choice Award for Best Song.
Wow.
Demonstrating his triple threat status again. Writer, star, musician. The whole experience just confirmed that when Segel writes the material, the opportunities just multiply like crazy.
Okay, so the early 2010s, this period saw his comedy film run just absolutely explode. He was clearly leveraging that new, powerful status as a writer-star.
Prolific is definitely the word. He co-starred with Paul Rudd in I Love You Man in 2009, playing the iconic Sidney Fife. Their chemistry was great.
Loved that movie.
Yeah, it was fun. He was also in Bad Teacher in 2011. And continuing his writing streak, he penned and starred in The 5-Year Engagement in 2012 alongside Emily Blunt.
Right.
And then he rounded out that kind of era with a role in This Is 40 in 2012, back with Apatow.
And we can't forget his successful dip into voice acting during this time, too, which added another massive family franchise to his resume.
Oh, yeah. He voiced Gru's arch rival, the spectacularly arrogant Vector Perkins in Despicable Me.
Vector.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. That was 2010, immensely successful animated film. And it wasn't just a one-off gig either. That role has had real legs.
How so?
He reprised it in a 2023 short film called Mooned, and they even used archival audio of him for Despicable Me 4 in 2024.
Wow, okay, so Vector lives on.
Vector lives on.
It's clear Segel was pushing himself creatively just through sheer volume during this period. But, like we noted, creative control comes with risk. We kind of have to examine Sex Tape, the 2014 film he co-wrote and executive produced.
Yeah.
This was definitely not the critical darling that, say, Sarah Marshall or the Muppets were.
No, it wasn't. And this is a really crucial pivot point to analyze maybe the downside of that creative ownership. Sex Tape came out with pretty high expectations, I think.
Yeah, big stars. Interesting premise.
But it just fell flat critically. It earned him shared Razzie nominations in 2015 for Worst Screen Combo with Cameron Diaz and also for Worst Screenplay.
ouch, Razzies. Yeah. This isn't just a minor flop. It kind of signals the challenges of translating his particular style, which really thrives on that sincere vulnerability, into more of a high concept, maybe farcical commercial comedy.
So what went wrong there? Was it just, like, genre fatigue? Or did the material maybe feel less personal, less earned compared to his earlier writing?
It seems like maybe a combination of things. Sex Tape had an interesting premise, sure. But perhaps that inherent personal honesty of Segel's writing style, the thing that powered Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Right.
Maybe it got diluted by trying to fit it into a more classic, broad studio comedy structure. I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
But it serves as a necessary reminder, I guess, that creative control is a double-edged sword. When you take full credit, you got to take full responsibility for the lows, too, not just the highs.
True.
And critically, this moment, this reception, it seems to have really solidified his decision to drastically redefine his career path right after.
Yeah, that Razzie nomination really feels like the definitive marker, doesn't it? Closing the chapter on that early 2010s mainstream comedy hustle.
It seems like it.
Because Segel pivoted, like, entirely, signaling he was ready to shed that label of just the funny tall guy and really demand serious dramatic attention.
And this pivot, it centers completely on one film, the 2015 independent biographical drama, The End of the Tour.
Right. Playing David Foster Wallace.
Yeah, here Segel took on this just monumental task of portraying the late, brilliant, but also deeply anxious author David Foster Wallace, known for, infinite jest.
Why was DFW the perfect character, do you think, for Segel's big dramatic debut? It seems like such a leap.
Well, maybe it was kind of a perfect storm of casting. DFW embodied that intellectual intensity, the social anxiety, that profound, complex sense of observation. All themes Segel seems to have carried from his own outsider youth, right?
Yeah, that tracks.
And Segel's physical presence, too, his height, that somewhat shambling demeanor, his sensitive eyes, it all seemed to translate the author's persona really well. The constant introspection kind of hidden behind the signature plaid bandana.
So it wasn't just acting, it felt more like embodiment.
That's what the reviews suggested, yeah. It felt like embodiment.
And the industry response was pretty seismic, wasn't it?
It was overwhelmingly positive. Critics just lauded his ability to capture the nuance of this genius grappling with fame, anxiety, the pressure of his own intellect.
Yeah.
Reviews in places like Roger Ebert's site, Entertainment Weekly, Richard Lawson at Vanity Fair specifically called the performance a huge breakthrough.
Wow.
Recognizing that Segel had basically fundamentally reshaped his professional identity in just one film.
And that breakthrough, it garnered real, tangible recognition, too.
Right.
Which is what agents and studios look for, right?
Yeah.
To validate that kind of career shift.
Totally. He got an Independent Spirit Award nomination for Best Male Lead, which is highly respected, especially in the independent film world.
Right.
And furthermore, he placed third for Best Actor at the Seattle International Film Festival. This performance just gave him the critical currency he needed to basically walk away from broad comedy and start choosing these highly selective dramatic roles.
So, with that gate opened, he really leaned into diversifying that drama portfolio. What were some of the key roles that came after End of the Tour?
Well, you see him consistently choosing roles that explore, like existential or deep emotional territory. Look at The Discovery from 2017, a film dealing with the scientific proof of an afterlife and all the philosophical dilemmas that causes.
Interesting.
Then there's Our Friend in 2019. He plays Dane Faucheux, a character based on a real guy who moved in with his friends to help them manage a terminal illness.
Oh, wow. Heavy themes. Grief, sacrifice.
Yeah, based on Matthew Teague's really powerful 2015 essay. And he also proved his versatility by tackling the thriller genre with Windfall in 2022. Played the character just called Nobody. And again, here's Segel leveraging that creative control again. He was also credited as a story writer and producer on that film.
The pattern is just so consistent, isn't it? If the role is complex, he wants a hand in shaping the narrative itself.
Seems like it. And this brings us back to television, but in a totally different context than How I Met Your Mother.
Right. He took on a really significant historical role, portraying Paul Westhead.
The legendary coach.
Yeah, the high school coach turned Lakers coach.
Yeah.
In the HBO series Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
Playing Paul Westhead for 12 episodes between 2022 and 2023. I mean, talk about a complex, driven, often misunderstood figure in basketball history.
About as far as you can possibly get from Marshall Erickson.
Absolutely. Reinforcing his commitment to that dramatic immersion.
And that whole trajectory brings us pretty much up to his current era.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the culmination of all his training, the creator, the showrunner, and the nominee.
Okay.
He seems to have now fully synthesized his writing talent, his dramatic sensitivity, and his comedic timing too, into creating original television series.
His first big push into this space was Dispatches from Elsewhere back in 2020. What was the vision behind that show? It felt different.
It was pure auteur television, really. He created it, starred in it, wrote for it, directed episodes, and executive produced all 10 episodes.
Wow. Full control. Total control. The show, which explored these ordinary people solving this kind of esoteric, strange puzzle, it felt like a surreal and often quite beautiful reflection of maybe his own creative anxiety. And maybe echoes of that earlier, it's me versus the world mentality. Searching for meaning and connection in a confusing world, it was definitely a clear, if maybe niche, artistic statement.
But the real current success, the one that's getting the massive industry recognition right now, is Shrinking, premiered 2023 on Apple TV+.
Yeah, Shrinking feels like the perfect vehicle for this current stage of his evolution. He co-created the series alongside actual comedy legends, Bill Lawrence.
Scrubs, Ted Lasso creator.
Right, and Brett Goldstein.
Roy Kent himself. From Ted Lasso.
Exactly. And Segel stars as the grieving therapist Jimmy Laird, whose kind of unconventional methods start shaking up his practice.
That creative trio is fascinating. Lawrence is known for combining sentimentality with that breakneck comedic pacing. Goldstein brings that sharp, slightly brutal comedic edge. And Segel provides the emotional core, the grounding vulnerability. How do those voices merge together?
Well, the show really seems to thrive on that merger. Segel's character, Jimmy, he's almost like Marshall Erickson, grown up and broken, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
He has the sensitivity, but the constant optimism has been shattered by grief. And the show tackles these really modern themes. Toxic masculinity, emotional shutdown, the stigma around therapy, the messy road to vulnerability.
Right.
Lawrence and Goldstein's structures kind of provide the necessary comedic guardrails, I think, allowing Segel to explore really profound emotional territory without sacrificing the humor.
And that synthesized effort has resulted in some pretty significant professional praise, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. His work on Shrinking has earned him the kind of top-tier recognition actors dream of. Nominations for 3 Primetime Emmy Awards.
Wow.
And a Golden Globe Award nomination for Best Actor in a TV musical or comedy in 2024. And the entire ensemble cast also got a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination. This is really the ultimate payoff for that big 2015 dramatic pivot and his consistent use of personal writing as the catalyst for change.
Okay, so beyond the acting and the show running, and this really speaks directly to his identity as a creator, there's this whole other parallel universe of creative output that, let's be honest, very few major movie stars engage in.
Right.
The world of literature.
Yeah, the commitment to the young adult author pivot is honestly astonishing. He announced this initiative way back in 2013, indicating he had actually been working on the concept since he was a young man. Like, he conceived the story when he was only 21.
That's incredible. And this isn't just like dipping a toe in the water with one book. This is a massive multi-book commitment.
Totally. He started the Nightmares series, co-written with Kirsten Miller. The first novel came out in 2014, and a follow-up came out just the next year, 2015.
And what's the Nightmare series about? Does it connect to his other work thematically?
Well, we need to look at the content, to understand why he commits to this format. The Nightmare series explores the world of this young boy whose frightening dreams start manifesting as actual physical entities.
Ooh, interesting.
So it's really a book about facing and overcoming fear, but using kind of whimsy and fantasy to externalize those internal anxieties.
Okay, I see the connection. Making the internal external.
Exactly. It aligns perfectly with his decision to, stage his emotional trauma in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Same impulse, different medium.
And he didn't stop there right after Nightmares.
Nope. Following the success of that duology, he and Kirsten Miller launched an entirely new series, the Otherworld series.
Wow.
This one's even more ambitious, maybe.
Yeah.
The first book came out in 2017, followed by Other Earth in 2018, and Other Life in 2019.
What's this series tackle?
These books delve into virtual reality, digital consciousness, the ethical dilemmas in gaming, and AI technology. So pretty complex stuff for YA.
That's 7 major published novels in collaboration.
7. This commitment just proves that his creative impulse isn't limited to a writer's room or a movie set. He seems to see himself as a world builder, really, regardless of the medium.
That really is proof that his desire for creative expression just transcends format, whether it's writing a little song for a stoner character on TV
Right.
or mapping out a complex science fiction trilogy for young adults. The need to construct these narrative worlds seems paramount for him.
Definitely. And moving to his personal life, we also find these really delightful facets of his personality that kind of defy the typical celebrity narrative.
Like what?
Perhaps the most charming is his surprising spiritual side.
Oh, right. He is an ordained minister with the Universal Life Church.
Which is great in itself, but it also allowed for this wonderfully quirky public service moment.
The wedding.
He actually performed a wedding ceremony live on The Tonight Show back in July 2010.
How did that even happen?
Well, the couple who enlisted his services hadn't just, reached out casually through agents. They had specifically solicited his help by putting pictures of him up all around his hometown and apparently at the bar he often frequented.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That anecdote just captures his appeal perfectly, doesn't it? He seems accessible, charmingly goofy, and willing to participate in the real-life joy of his fans.
Totally. And if we look quickly at the timeline of his notable relationships, they often seem to align with his professional phases, kind of reflecting his changing status in the public eye.
Okay, like who?
Well, he dated his Freaks and Geeks co-star Linda Cardellini, right? That relationship started during that early Apatow era. Then he dated actress Michelle Williams from 2012 to 2013, which was right as he was making that big push into more serious film roles.
Okay.
And then he maintained a significant, really long-term relationship with photographer Alexis Mixter for nearly 8 years.
8 years, wow.
Yeah, between 2013 and 2021, which covers that whole period of his dramatic pivot and establishing himself as a writer and creator.
And what about more recently?
Well, as of the most recent source material updates we have, he seems to be in a new, exciting phase. Since 2023, he's been dating Kayla Radomski, who used to be a backup dancer for Taylor Swift.
Oh, interesting connection.
Yeah. And their engagement was actually announced via Instagram in June 2025. So it shows his personal life continues to kind of settle into these long, meaningful phases, evolving right alongside his professional identity.
Okay, let's try and pull it all together now by just reviewing the awards that really summarize this bizarrely eclectic career.
The awards really are the ultimate testament to his diversity, aren't they? You see the serious, dramatic recognition, that Independent Spirit Award nomination for Best Male Lead for playing David Foster Wallace in the end of the tour.
Right, the serious cred.
Then, the recognition of his current creative leadership, the Golden Globe and Emmy nominations for Shrinking, huge TV awards.
Top-tier stuff.
But right there, sitting right next to all that serious acclaim, is the Critics' Choice Award win for Best Song for the Muppets. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Seriously, who else has, multiple Emmy nominations sitting next to an award for composing a heartfelt Muppet ballad?
I can't think of many. Comedy, drama, musical composition, all recognized at the highest levels. It's wild.
Yeah.
And just as a final note that kind of encapsulates his charming and celebrated persona, we have to mention he was named the Hasty Pudding Man of the Year back in 2012.
Ah, the Hasty Pudding Award. That's a fun one.
Yeah, a prestigious honor recognizing his, lasting and impressive contribution to entertainment, but with that fun, quirky Harvard edge, #outro.
So what does this really remarkable career path ultimately teach us? About creativity, about career longevity. Jason Segel's journey, I think, is a definitive guide on how to redefine yourself in what can be a very rigid industry.
Yeah.
He just leveraged intense personal experience, heartbreak, the naked vulnerability, their complex religious identity, his sincere love for puppets, all of it, to fuel these wildly diverse and, frankly, surprisingly successful creative outputs. The central takeaway for you, the listener, seems pretty clear. Segel just refused to be boxed in. And he achieved that refusal by consistently seizing control of the narrative, literally. He realized, I think, that the industry would only see him as Marshall Erickson if he let them.
He didn't just wait for the great roles to come along. He wrote them.
Exactly.
The writing, starting way back with that awkward early song he composed for Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, that little song.
Through the incredibly vulnerable script for Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and culminating now in his 7 published novels. That was the consistent engine for change in his career.
It allowed him to shift from being just a comedic actor working within that Apatow sphere to an acclaimed dramatic lead, and now, a successful Emmy-nominated creator and showrunner in his own right.
It's a really powerful lesson in career bravery, I think. When your comedic comfort zone started giving you Razzie nominations, he engineered this hard left turn into probably the most intellectually challenging role he could find. And boom, it paid off immediately.
It really did.
So the question now, as he enters this new phase of creative control and production, is where that boundless creative energy is going to land next. Considering his deep, sustained involvement in young adult fiction, I mean, a 7-book partnership is serious.
Very serious.
Here's a final provocative thought for you to consider. Will his next major breakthrough be purely behind the camera? Could he potentially translate his successful literary universe, those complex worlds dealing with nightmares and virtual reality, into a new, complex cinematic universe?
It's definitely possible. That transition from author to showrunner is increasingly common these days. He's got the stories already written. He's got the collaborators. He certainly has a track record now. The pages might just be the next frontier for him on screen.
Fascinating thought. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.